Hello and welcome to This Week in Frax. I'm Sam. I'm here with the boys. What's up, guys?
GM.
And we have a very special week.
Yeah, we should have more energy on this show. That was a
I
hell of
know.
a space yesterday.
I know. I just there's so
Aren't
much.
you guys pumped? Like, holy shit.
There's so much. And we're going to
The
go through it today.
M2 layer of all future assets of the 21st century. Sam Kazemian, quoted.
Yeah.
Talking about thinking decades ahead.
Which means a lot, actually. And we're going to get into that in a second. But the event that we had yesterday, the Spaces, coincided with the third anniversary of the launch of Frax. Way back on December 20th in 2020, when DeFi was small and DeFi Summer had yet to take off, Frax launched, and it was a special time because we had gone through, we've talked about all the algo stables that we look back on with fondness, but Frax had come after a long list of algo staples that failed, and has used its position over the last 3 years to really cement itself as one of the titans of DeFi and the Ethereum network. So it's amazing to see the growth and how things have changed over that time period and just where we are today.
Yeah, it's crazy witnessing the evolution of what was the original idea of just a stablecoin and now has grown so much, encompassing not just like dollar stablecoins, but revolutionary primitives like BAM, Frax ETH V2, which could be applied to other L1 digital assets, and everything in between. List can go on.
Yeah. So let's talk about that Spaces yesterday. So Dave, you did the interview, and I think you did a great job. You asked all the right questions and even asked some really pointed ones that put Sam
directly.
on the spot.
Yes, I like those.
Very frank questions.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like airdrop?
Yeah.
Exactly. Is there gonna be airdrop? Well, I think like what's interesting, not just about like the space, but like what he suggests in general, like a point system, is like how fast points went to take over all of crypto. Like literally, it's just like so quickly. I mean, was it Friendtech was the first one with points, or was it Blur?
No, but Blur came afterwards.
Blur had points, yeah, but like
Friendtech was the first one to really get it right and define the narrative.
Yeah, and then Friendtech did it, and then Blast did it on Turbo, and now everyone is like on points. It's like funny because we're just like, oh, we have tokens, we don't need airline miles anymore, and this and that, and like we've just like we're coming back
to it. That's so true.
It's so fucking. It's great for like a dev because like before like you like measured by maybe like TVL or how much you put in or this and that, but like with points you can measure by activity, come up with a score, and then like boom, like that could be worth something later. I'm very curious to see like if there like isn't like what the Frax Chain token would look like and how it would function in the ecosystem. I'm wondering, like we talked about this before, if it would like if the Frax DAO, like how much of a percentage of the Frax of the token that Frax DAO will hold, like will it be like 51%, will it be 90%? Who knows? But
we did actually see there was a post that Ouroboros made today that I'm going to bring up that actually talked about this. He was doing some math on the token distribution, and I've got it right here. He's been talking a lot about it in his group. If you aren't in Ouroboros's like private channel, it's a great group to be in. We'll include the link in the show notes below. But here's what he posted, and make this a little bit bigger. So hypothetical academic exercise: if Frax Chain drops the token to VEFX holders, what's the value of Frax Chain as a percentage of VFX holders? VFX holdings value. Oh man, that's a whole bunch there. So 50% of FXS is locked as VEFXS, and the VEFX market cap here today is 320 million. And he's got some like numbers here. So if the FTV of Frax Chain is like $2 billion, then they would airdrop quite a bit to VEFXS as a percentage of the total value. So it looks like there's could be significant value coming as VEFXS in 2024.
So effectively, what this is saying is if Frax Chain is valued at $1 billion and they airdrop 10% of the supply to VEFXS, that represents a 31% return, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they would airdrop 10%. That's what they did for FPIS.
But even still, I mean, that's pretty significant. Even at a $2 billion valuation, 63%, it's, it's kind of crazy.
100%. What? Like that's a massive number.
Yeah. Like probably might be more than 10%.
What airdrop gives you 31% of your existing holdings?
Or let's go back to the FPIS airdrop, right? So remember, 10% was airdropped. Another 10% was used for like rewards that go out to the community that are being paid out now to VEFPIS. 25% went to the VEFXS holders. And then 25% went to the like Frax DAO treasury. So if we just kind of brought that back into the airdrop to say that, well, maybe they dropped 30%, right? Because now they don't have to reserve anything for VEFXS. They can just use that 20 to 25% that they used in the VEFPIS airdrop to then push it out. And then we go to 30%, and if we're looking at 100%, even at a $1 billion valuation, we're talking about 100% return. Which would be pretty incredible.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Speaking of FPIS, how about Sam saying point blank before Frax Chain, FPIS-FXS merger? Can Ouroboros do some numbers on that?
Yeah, I snuck that one in there.
The governance proposal would have to go up in like the next week, right? Because remember, there's like 7 days of comments and then another like 7 days of voting. So.
Yeah.
If it doesn't go out before the new year, maybe, I don't know, or at least has to go out by January 14th for it to be.
Yeah, that seems like
right?
It seems like something that they definitely want to do before Frax Chain is released. So I'm like, what are you most excited for with like Frax Chain? And out of that space, like, what are you most excited for out of all the things that Sam talks about?
Well, I'll take this one. The introduction of new L2s on top of Frax Chain. So
the Fractals. I'm happy that he took the name.
Fractals. Yeah. Or just he name dropped Celestia, and then he said Frax Tia. Frax Polygon POL. The two token model is great. Like it's already proved its resiliency and value creation for the entire DeFi ecosystem, and for newer L1s that haven't had a like deep carve out from like Lido or something else. Frax moving in first because Celestia is probably going to be a multi-billion-dollar protocol down the road if it's not right now. I haven't checked the market cap in a couple of days, but looking at Tia, looking at Pol or for Polygon, these are LSDs these are assets that don't really have a strong LSD market, but Frax coming in and setting it up, we could really be the incumbent there, and it would generate enough revenue to make it worthwhile for the protocol. That's really the big thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, these are all products that Frax uses. Like I assume it will use TIA for the DA for Frax Chain. Hence why they're talking about FRX TIA. So
yeah. If Sam's like going public about that, they're definitely well beyond the ideation stage.
Yeah. I wondered now, since like Bitcoin with their fees is like quite profitable beyond just their inflation, like is FRX BTC going to be on the table sooner than we think?
Potentially. I mean, it kind of makes sense. I mean, I talked to Botanics a while back. They're building a layer 2 EVM where Bitcoin is the gas token. And they have a model where there's like Bitcoin staking, and you actually like stake your Bitcoin into their system and you earn native Bitcoin yields from the sequencer. I don't know. I mean, it's a difficult one because again, like it doesn't have a native yield. So there's really got to be demand for it.
Yeah. I think the path of least resistance is going after the POSs first.
And
that's proof of stakes, not pieces of, and
it's guaranteed.
Exactly,
guaranteed yield.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a low hanging fruit, and if anything, that just proves out the case further that Frax could do this for other coins. and then maybe that leads to something more interesting later.
Guys,
So, Kit, what are you most excited for coming up on that Sam talked about on the space?
I think you guys kind of front ran me is the Frax Tia, Frax Poe, Frax everything else, because Frax can't just live isolated in this new. I always say Frax is building the financial district of the decentralized future, but it can't just be just Frax, right? So the fact that it's opening up assets from other chains, like the core assets of other chains, and bringing it onto the financial district, I think that was super exciting to hear. BAM was pretty interesting too, to hear that that's going to be basically the primitive across the board. No, any pool is going to be a BAM pool. I thought that was pretty interesting, where it's like all built in one. You don't have to bootstrap liquidity on the lending protocol and the liquidity pool. Like all is just in one. Awesome. Yeah. So I feel like it's going to be a really when we launch, it's not going to be like a barren district of just hey, Frax lend over there, Frax swap over there. It's actually going to be like a really, really vibrant and integrated ecosystem day one.
Yeah. I gotta say, for me, it's BAM. Call me like a DeFi purist here. I'm really living up to the DeFi part of DeFi Dave, but I think BAM is the most exciting thing. Like that I was most excited about, that he talks about with the space and coming on Frax Chain. I mean, everything else, don't get me wrong, everything else is super exciting, and it's like hard not to be excited. But like with BAM, I think it's because I see like the first order and second order effects of BAM, and like what it could mean for. I really think it could reignite DeFi Summer 2.0, because now, like as I said it on the space yesterday, how lending markets are, and trying to get your token onto lending markets is very similar to getting your token on centralized exchanges back before DeFi Summer in 2020. Then Uniswap came along and boom, permissionlessly add like any token pair, boom, instant liquidity, and it's just seeded this bull market. But now not only do you get to have liquidity, you get to have leverage too. And then that's going to like really turn up the notch a bit. And so if I'm like a meme coin, or if I'm like, if I'm like any coin and I like want to have a lending market, I want to be on Frax Chain, and then boom. And then what he was talking about with RWAs yesterday, and like how like Centrifuge and other partners like they're redeemable for Frax, like that's huge. It's also really exciting.
That's right. Because we didn't understand this. Like last week we talked about the Centrifuge proposal. I thought it wasn't going to pass. I was just like, oh, we already have FinRes, PBC.
I mean, he's talking about fail-safes.
I know that, but there's some other stuff inside the proposal that we didn't know about, right? Which was the ability. Again, I found this really interesting. Is that like the new contracts that are signed with Centrifuge allow for direct redemption of Frax into T-bills, which is pretty incredible. And I don't think there's anywhere out there that allows that right now.
I think like Sam's whole mindset is like, oh, let them come to us. Let them come to us. Like whether it's real world, it's like we're not molding towards them; they'll mold towards the chain. And so like you're now seeing that it's like, oh, now Frax is going to be redeemable for treasuries. You see that play out,
and it might be other things as well too. I mean, I actually now thinking about that. Let's take a look at that governance proposal, because I think there was some information in there which could be relevant for the near future, right? So if they're talking about direct redemption into different assets, there's like 3 assets that Centrifuge was talking about, right? So the first one is like the lowest risk assets, right? And then they're talking about preservation are these like higher risk assets, so like senior secured loans, and then also like trade finance, non-bank originators. Like if you can exchange Frax into treasuries, then you should be able to exchange Frax into other secured loans. And if you can do that, then you can do trade financing as well too. So maybe Centrifuge becomes this like conduit for like Frax directly to like real world products like these. I don't know. We should ask the Centrifuge guys. But I think there's something there that we don't know with this Centrifuge thing.
Yeah, we should come up with like a list next year of like everybody we want to interview, like all these future Frax partners, getting Centrifuge, getting Celestia, what Sam was talking about, like imagine if like FRX Soul becomes a thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love Anatoly. If we can get Anatoly on, he's great.
Oh,
He's one of the most dynamic and smartest people.
Well, we can just ask Ryan, be like, "Hey, Ryan, can you ring up? Ring."
True.
I actually, to come back about things that, so my second most interesting thing about the space yesterday was to hear about the block incentives or the block producer incentives. So to be able to receive VEFXS as a reward for making transactions is pretty cool. But to be able to receive more than $1 of rewards versus the fees that you pay is really, I think, the killer thing here. That, of course it's locked and it's not like short-term. There's no short-term attack vectors here that people could come in and like spend $1 to get $2 back. But the fact that maybe you get put into a 1-year VEFXS lock for all the fees that you generate on Frax Chain, that'd be really great. You think about protocols, it really aligns protocols into like long-term alignment with Frax, in the sense that, okay, you have all this VEFX that you've generated from your fees and from usage on chain. Well, now it goes into your treasury and you have to hold it at least a year. So it's just a broadening. It sounds like a broadening of like the convex system, but from Frax being like the core and then broadening out to like all the protocols that are built on Frax Chain. And then CryptoVestor at the end asked a really interesting question of Sam. He said, could there be a Prisma style lock drop for Frax Chain where the VEFXS that's generated and distributed as reward, could people get instant liquidity by putting it into convex? And Sam said, yeah, it could be convex. It could be another protocol. It could really be anybody that wants to come and build that. It's entirely possible.
Yeah. I mean, the CryptoVestor loves his lock drop.
He does. But
yeah, I think what's also interesting about this VEFXS block rewards is that it really diversified the voter base. Because right now the VEFXS kind of voter base demographic has been pretty much stuck as it is, because not a lot of new people are coming in and locking VEFXS like on the daily. But now we're gonna have new people locking VEFXS on a per block basis. So like that's going to start diversifying that voter base a bit more and start introducing some new point of views, in my opinion.
And pushing the amount of VEFXS versus the total Frax share like higher. Because it's been trending, it's been pretty much like flat or like slightly diminishing for almost 2 years now.
Yeah, same with Curve. Curve started at like almost 55% and it bled down to like I think 40 something now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder when it comes to like the liquid wrapper of Frax Chain, like what if Convex is just going to do it, or if like someone else is going to do it, like what that exactly is gonna look like.
Well, we will find out soon, because January is just right around the corner. We're talking like today's the 20th of January. We're talking less than 40 days until Frax Chain launches.
Yeah. That's gonna be like another, how like Bitcoin has all these different holidays, like, oh, like this is the day the white paper was released, and like, oh, this is the day the chain was like, Bitcoin was like launched, the first block was mined. It's like Frax is having those days of like, oh, this was like the day, the first December 20th, Frax birthday. And then now it's gonna be like whenever Frax Chain comes out, that's gonna be like, oh, Frax Chain launches and this and that. I like how, and like it's great to hear how with Frax Chain, Sam and the team is, aspiring to be not just like another app chain, not just like another L2, but like the top performant, like top L2 out there on the market. Like it's not just like, oh, we're just doing this just because. It's like, no, like we're trying to be the best in this very category.
Yeah, I think it's definitely coming into a life of its own at this point, and with the oncoming PYUSD partnership or agreement, we don't have any details about that, what's happening with that yet. But if there is something significant between Paxos and Frax and PYUSD, Frax Chain would be the place that it would occur. And Sam said some pretty interesting things yesterday about PayPal. He said once they flip the switch where payments denominated in dollars are actually PYUSD, moving between account to account, I think people will wake up and really know that stablecoins have become a household name and a household technology right under their noses. And then he continued and he said that he wants Frax to be like the central asset for PYUSD to trade against on chain and in DeFi. And as PYUSD needs to have ubiquitous levels of liquidity on chain, and to be honest, it doesn't yet, but it will when Frax is done with it. That was direct quotes from yesterday. So there's something brewing. Let him cook.
Right. And then he also said that, Frax is going to be like the DeFi arm of Paxos and PYUSD and PayPal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's, these large corporations, they can't have some, a DeFi department, I guess. So kind of like outsourcing that to Frax makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. And I believe we're within 10 days of FXBs launching.
Imminent.
If not,
imminent.
I'm going on January 1st because that's when the docs say the cycle begins. But maybe they launch it early. I don't know.
I think they're going to launch it on Christmas Eve at 11 p.m. or Christmas Day at 2 p.m.
Very on brand.
Very on brand.
Yeah.
But,
they're going to launch it right after the show, after we stop recording. That's what they're going to launch it.
I know. Yeah, like 2 seconds after we hit the stop button, it'll be out.
I mean, that happened. That just happened a few weeks ago. Oh, it's something that, what did they post? I forget. But we ended the show and then boom, like they dropped the docs or something.
I think it's happened multiple times at this point. Like it's so common that, and they do it.
It's a joke. It's so common that we joke about it.
I know. They wait for us to.
And we make it, yeah.
Let's see what else. I think that's it. I think we've covered most everything that happened yesterday in discussion. I wish we could have had another hour to speak with Sam. We'll have to speak to him again. The spaces were fun, actually. I think it was really nice.
It's good, dude. That was like our second space with them. I like doing like a biannual space with him like that. Really, get like the update. And it's like just enough time for them to build and cook and ideate. And when you do talk to them, it's a significant update.
Yeah. I wish we could have gotten more audience questions as well too. I really enjoyed Cryptovestor's questions for Sam, and So, but great overall space. It was great job, Dave.
Yeah, thank you.
Other than the spaces, I mean, there's so much happening there. Like the spaces, the happening yesterday. It's been a busy week. The other piece of news that came out like literally 5 minutes before we started this recording on Thursday is that Sam said that he has a meeting, or maybe this was earlier today. This is like at noon today, so 4 or 5 hours ago. Sam actually said that they're having a meeting with Solana, and so we might have some Frax deployments over to Sol in the new year.
Oh.
Frax Sol stablecoin, right? Like if Jito can be $1 billion stablecoin, then why can't Frax be on Solana as well too?
I mean, there's USDC on Solana.
And Frax was on Solana at one point as well too. I mean, you used the wormhole bridge. What was the Curve knockoff? It was like the Curve copy on Solana.
I forget.
Oh,
yeah.
Question.
You know what I'm talking about, but I forget the name of it. It was those guys that remember it was the brothers that released they released that one, and then they did 10 more protocols within a 2-month period, and made $100 million just from dumping all the tokens.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. That was the one.
That news
Frax
blew the headlines.
Yeah.
I was like,
Frax was there for a little bit as a stable swap, but then once the once the Harmony Bridge hack happened, they pulled the liquidity from it and they shut it down, and it didn't exist anymore. And Frax came off of Solana at that point. Yeah. Long time ago. So if there is a reemergence of Frax on Solana, I'd be really interested about that.
Yeah, I think I have a feeling there will be, as long as like Solana keeps growing, which it looks like it will be. Like it's meme coin central and then some. Like I would not be surprised if Frax is on there in 2024.
It's great.
Yeah.
Have you guys used it much?
I've started using Solana, and I gotta say it's a much better DeFi experience.
Oh yeah, yeah,
so smooth.
for sure.
Truly is.
Have you guys been using Jupiter?
No, what's that?
Yes.
The exchange?
It's like a exchange aggregator. It's really nice. And you know what I like what they have? They have something called DCA. We should just call TWAM DCA.
Yeah.
They have built-in DCA into their exchange. We should just call TWAM DCA. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like when you want to smash a pool that has a low lick, they always say like, you should DCA instead. You can save this much. You know, so I it's great. And there's Drift protocol, their Perps exchange. Like it's not bad. Like the whole system is pretty built out, and they also have a lending protocol, and that lending protocol is like all maxed out because everyone is airdrop farming like crazy. So it's like you really gotta filter that out. Like one of the protocol, like Drift protocol I mentioned, they're a perp exchange, and they had to pause new account creations because they were hit with so much growth, and they're just like, okay, we gotta stop. Yeah, I thought that was quite funny.
The yields are pretty good over there. I've been doing some. I have some stable coins that I converted into Solana, and I've been doing some delta neutral farming over there. And the annualized funding rates on some of the perp exchanges are like 150%. Like it's just dumb.
Yeah. It's nice.
As for the other stuff, did you get any of the Jito airdrop?
No.
Or was it there was another airdrop as well too?
F in the chat. Yeah. Piff. I think Jito and Piff.
Yeah, there was one other one. I got like it was got like 10 soul out of that. It was nice. But all in all, so I have high hopes for Solana. I think it'll probably take the third spot behind. It'll probably knock out Ripple.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so feels good. Good week. Going into the holidays.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy holidays. Hope everybody enjoys their time at the end of the year. Time to reflect. And if you want to keep up with everything on Flywheel, make sure you hit that bell button, you subscribe, give us a comment, let us know what you think, give us a like. Make sure you follow us on our social media at Flywheel DeFi on Twitter, TikTok, and Telegram. Go to our website, subscribe right now, flywheeldefi.com in the description below.
Go.
And you can follow me on Twitter at DeFiDave22.
You can follow me at 0xcapital_K.
And I'm at traders_inside.
And we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Peace.